Hello and welcome to another knitting podcast. Okay, hi and welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, hello, it's great to have you. And if you've been around before, welcome back. Thanks for joining. I have a monthly podcast to show you all today, so I'm going to go through what I finished this month, or what I'm almost done with, what I'm working on, what I bought in the last month, and then we'll talk about some inspirations I have this month and my progress on my 2024 knitting intentions. And this is my last podcast of the year, so this is the last time that I will be talking about these intentions as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be kind of exciting, kind of not. I mean, I don't have any finished objects. It was just one of those months, but I have 2 whips and I have some acquisitions and some future plans that we can talk about. So I will just kick us off with no finished objects with our whips. And I will start off with this whip, which has been my biggest focus for the last month or so, which is a really long time for me to have something on the needles because I am a pretty monogamous knitter. So I've been almost exclusively working on this one project for a month, and it's a sample knit. So I'm trying to talk a lot about it before I have to turn all of the video to black and white because the colors are still secret. And so it's a sample knit for Little Fiber Co. I'm making the pattern the Holidays sweater, which is by Kate Oates, and it's been really enjoyable. It's a lot of color work and it's a Christmas sweater, so I will show it to you now. I just wanted to minimize black and white filming, so here we go. Okay, so this is where I am on this holidays sweater. So as you can see, it is all over color work with these Christmas motifs. So it's got trees, this little chevron, candies, candy canes, diamonds, snowflakes, little diamonds as well, gingerbread, and hats. And then I'm finally on the ribbing of the body, and then I have the sleeves to go. So I'm hiding it now. So this has been a very intense whip for the past month or so. It's a sample knit, and so I've been working really closely with the designer as well from Little Fiber Co. to make sure she likes what the motifs are looking like. So I've had to frog back a few times. I actually had to do surgery on one of the motifs and wanted to add a motif between 2 I'd already done. So I cut in between the motifs to add one, and then I had to like Kitchener it all back together. So it's been a very involved whip. I am very excited to have it done pretty soon because I think today I'll be able to finish the body, and then it's just the sleeves, which will be a lot simpler after doing like each row of the body had 22 16 stitch repeats. So, and then 44 8-stitch repeats. So it was a lot of color work and a lot of repetitive color work with long rows. And so the sleeves are going to go so much faster because they have 4 16-stitch repeats. So it's going to be a breeze, or maybe it's 6, but a lot less than 22 repeats. So it's going to be a breeze to do the sleeves, and then I'll be able to send it off. And finally also reveal the colors here once Lauren of Little Fiber Co. posts about it herself. So I am over the moon to almost have it done. It has been enjoyable, and I feel like my color work skills have improved a lot. I've had to do a lot of 3-color rows. I've had to catch a lot of floats, and I feel a lot more confident in color work now, which is great. I don't think I'd ever make a full color work sweater for myself. Just the amount of work that this has taken is astounding. So I think that it's given me a lot of love for color work, and I'd love to do like a circular yoke color work just on the yoke sweater, but geez, a full like 3-color different motifs thing is a lot. So I'm really excited to have it almost done, but I have enjoyed it as well. I don't want to talk badly about it too much, but I think you can tell it's been on my needles for like, I think exactly a month now, or a little bit less than a month, but long enough that if I've been working on it pretty much every day for almost a month, I'm ready for it to be done. So yeah, but it's still been fun, and I still always enjoy sample knitting, so it's all right. And it's in Lauren's BFL base, so I've never gotten to work with BFL before. And so it's been kind of fun to play with the new base as well. It's a fingering weight as well, so that's why I think I'm also like, I need this to be done, because it's been fingering weight knit on US3, which I think is a 3.25 millimeter needle, so it's a full sweater in like tiny little needles doing color work. It's a lot, but still enjoyable. But anyways, okay, I will stop talking about a whip that I can't actually really show you and talk about kind of my fun other whip, which is this guy, which I actually haven't picked up for the last few days, just working on this guy. But this is the Nora neck by We Made Wardrobe. So it's a little dicky, and I'm making it for the Opposites Attract knit along that I'm doing with Ash. I talked about this in my winter knitting plans video, so you can catch more about it there. Or a little summary, Ash and I, from Ash from Smash Knits, and I are hosting a knit along together, where the theme, we're calling it the Opposites Attract knit along, but the theme is just to knit a color outside of your normal color palette, color zone. It's called Opposites Attract because Ash and I have very different color palettes, and we found each other always commenting on our videos saying, wow, I love that color, I never wear things. And she always wears super, super bright colors, and I'm more like neutral or muted colors. And so we decided it would be fun to do a little knit along for ourselves, where I knit in her color palette, she knit in mine, and then we thought it would be fun to expand it as well and just have other people also knit in colors outside of their color zone or their comfort zone. And so it's been really fun. We have a group chat on Instagram if you'd like to be added to it. I think I can add a link, so I'll put a link down below to add yourself to that group chat. It's been really fun. It's been, supportive, people commenting on how excited they are to see each other's yarns and see each other's projects come to life. Someone's already finished something. And yeah, it's been really fun. There's also a lot of chat about like, I made a mistake in this lace in the color in my knitting. Can you help me fix it? And so it's been a really just kind of nice community too, to just chat with people. And so I'll have that group chat link down below. There's also a hashtag you can use on Instagram, so I'll put that if you are interested in posting about it as well. But yeah, it's been really fun, and I've been making this Nora neck as my first. I'll probably at least have 2 projects, if not 3 projects in the Opposites Attract knit along. So this is my first one. It is the Nora neck. Oh, and the knit along runs through February 17th. So it started November 17th, and you have till February 17th to participate. And there's no prizes or anything. Whips are welcome. It's a really casual knit along, so I hope you'll join. But yeah, this is my project, Nora neck by We Made Wardrobe, and I'm knitting it in this really fun boucle. So this is from the brand Junk Yarn, which is actually closing down. So they had all of their in-stock yarn on sale. It wasn't at a discount, it just was all on the website. And so I ended up getting 3 skeins of this boucle in the colorway Fashionista Barbie, which is super fun and has, once it's knit up, has all these little areas of color. So it's really fun. I like that it's still, got a neutral background. And so it still feels pretty wearable to me, but it's got all these little fun areas of color. So I'm going to take off my mic so I can put it on for you without you hearing the sound of it being put on and me trying to talk. Okay, so this is kind of roughly what it looks like. I actually have, this is the back that I have in front, but they're the exact same. So I've just put the back so you can see more of what it's going to look like, but it's got this really fun mock neck or cowl neck on it, which is super cozy, and I'm really excited to be able to just like cover my face with it when I'm outside. And it actually was supposed to be longer. It was supposed to be like 10 centimeters longer, I think. And I omitted the extra 10 centimeters of ribbing because I felt like it was long enough. And it's super cozy here. And then, yeah, I just need to finish the back first, technically, with some nice decreases. So it'll end up covering like kind of right below my bust on the back, and then replicate on the front as well. So It's a fun, simple project at this point. It's just back and forth with ribbing on each side and then some decreases. So it is fun. I just haven't picked it up because I'm trying to finish this guy, but I was on a little trip, so I got all of this done in 5 days on a trip I was on. I was going to my grandpa's memorial. He just passed away last month, and so I was at his memorial and cleaning out his house, and so I was pretty busy. But I still got this much of the knitting done, mostly on the plane. So it's a pretty fast knit, which is nice, and so I'm excited to be able to pick it back up more in a little bit, but it's also nice to have as a little break from this project whenever I'm a little bit sick of color work. I've been picking this up as well, so it's getting a little bit of work done, but it'll definitely be finished. I think like as soon as this is out the door and finished, I think this one will fly off the needles. So it's really enjoyable. I highly recommend this pattern. I've really wanted to make a dicky or a neck, whatever you call them, for a while, and so it's nice to have started one and be working on it. And I think it's going to be a really fun accessory, and it's so fun and bright. Like I'm really actually enjoying how it looks with like my hair and my skin, which I was kind of worried about because I definitely have just a more muted palette normally. So, but I don't feel like it's overpowering or anything. So, yeah, it's been really enjoyable. And yeah, that is all I have for whips. So, I will switch to acquisitions. Let me just take this off. All right, so acquisitions. If you remember in my last podcast, if you watched it, I talked about how I really wanted to have no acquisitions for this video for this podcast because last video had a lot. And I almost made that happen. As of yesterday, I had one acquisition. And then yesterday, I was up in Fort Collins, which is like an hour away from where I live. And I went to 2 yarn stores in Fort Collins. I went to Lamb Spun, which was really fun. I didn't get anything there, but then I went to My Sister Knits, which is, I think, one of my top yarn stores I've ever been to. It was such a great yarn store, and it was Black Friday, and so they had 20% off everything for Black Friday. And so I got a little bit of yarn. So I have one other acquisition. Oh, and I did buy this yarn, but I already cast it on, so I'm like, it's a whip, it's not an acquisition. I don't have to talk about that. That's something I bought, but in all transparency, I did buy this yarn as well in this month. But yeah, so I will just talk about the acquisition I made first, which was way back at the beginning of November, maybe even late October. I think like the day I filmed my last podcast, I went and bought this. So I got some fun fiber. It's a very, very neutral color, but with like some color. It really reminds me of like a hazy cloud, like maybe a hazy sunrise or something. But it's some really nice fiber to spin into yarn. And so I got this. There was a Hand Weavers Guild. It's the Rocky Mountains Hand Weavers Guild, which it has a lot of fiber arts in it. It's not just weaving. But they put on a kind of showcase exhibition every year, and they also sell things. And so I went to the exposition and found this fiber, and I just could not pass up the fiber blend. And so it's wool, silk, alpaca, cashmere, and Angora. So it's got Angora rabbit, cashmere goat, and then it also has some Angelica and Firestar, which is like, let me just get some of this out. I'm trying to protect it still, so not get all of it out of the bag, but also not make you listen to the bag. So apologies if you have to listen to a little bit of the bag, but you can kind of see there are little sparkly, almost tinsely bits in it, and so that's the Angelica and Firestar, so it'll be kind of sparkly when I spin it up, but it is so freaking soft with this blend, and I'm really excited to spin it. I haven't been spinning. I have a drop spindle and I haven't used it for a while, but I am excited to either spin this myself on my drop spindle, or I did also ask for an e-spinner for Christmas. So, I mean, I don't know if I'm getting that, but if I did, this would spin up a lot quicker. And if I don't, I might probably save up money to get myself an e-spinner, because I want to be spinning some yarn, spinning some fiber a little bit quicker than I can by hand and have it be a little bit easier on my body. And so I'm really excited about that. It's only 2 ounces and it costs $22 for the 2 ounces, but I thought that with the fiber blend of the cashmere and the Angora, and I love the really subtle colors of it, that it was worth it. So I'm really excited to spin that up at some point soon. So that was my first acquisition. And then yesterday I had so much fun at my sister knits. And so the first thing that I walked into the store and saw pretty immediately is this. So this is from Rico Design, I think is actually the company. It just says creative on it, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, Rico Design. And it is creative make it tweed in this nice pastel color. And I got 3 of them. And so what you do with this is it's super thin, but it's got all these little tweedy bits, or like nebs, I think is what you call those in tweed, but it's got all these like little sticking up pieces. And so you just hold this with other yarn, and then you can make any yarn you want into tweed yarn. And so I thought that this pastel version was so fun. Like, I've seen the very colorful make it tweed before, but I've never seen this pastel where I don't know if the colors are coming in perfectly, but it's like kind of a mint with some lavender and some white and some cream. And there are some kind of darker, like not quite brown, but like a grayish beige or like a tan color in there. So I really liked the neutrality of this. I've actually never seen the make it tweed in person, and I know that sometimes it can be hard to find. And so I wanted some. Each one of these has 445 meters on it. And so I got 3 because that is over 1,200 meters, and that's typically what I need to make a sweater with. And so I want to just make a simple sweater holding this. And then while I was there, I also found these yarns, which these I've been wanting to try forever. So they're by Chaos Yarns. And this is the Organic Soft Merino, which feels amazing. Like, I thought that knitting for olive merino was soft, and this is pretty comparable in price, in yardage, and has a slightly limited color range, but has quite a large color range as well. So it's pretty comparable to the knitting for olive merino, but this is so soft. Like, this is so freaking soft. I was holding both the knitting for olive merino and this, and I could tell the difference. Like, this is just really plump and soft and squishy. And what I really love about this brand as well is I'm sensitive to mohair. And so I can never use the knitting for olive mohair, which is lovely because it pairs perfectly with the merino colorways. But this brand carries a brushed alpaca, so kind of a Surrey, that matches their merinos. And so I got matching yarns, and I decided on this colorway because I was thinking maybe I could hold this with these. So I want to swatch this and see how it turns out. But then I want to make a lovely little sweater, or not little, it'll probably be pretty oversized. I kind of want to make like a turtleneck raglan sweater. I love it. I love a raglan, clearly. So I think that I'll do that. And in store, they actually only had 4 of these. So yeah, they had 4 of the Surrey or brushed alpaca, which is 225 meters each. These are 25-gram balls, and it's a lace weight, so pretty standard yardage for these. I think it exactly matches the knitting for olive mohair. So they only had 4 of these, which is not really a sweater quantity. It's just about 900 meters. So they only had 4, and then they only had 5 of these. So I'll grab to prove it. They only had 5. And so what I ended up doing was ordering 1 more of these and 2 more of these online this morning, just so I can have an even, it's a little over 1,200 meters, but so I can have at least 1,200 meters to feel confident in making a sweater. And so I'm not sure if I'll design it or if I'll just knit one of the many existing raglan turtleneck sweaters out there, but I am really excited. I might just swatch just to swatch because I want to see how these look together. But I don't have an exact pattern in mind yet. I have kind of a large vision of like raglan turtleneck, want it to be kind of oversized. I might do a split hem. I honestly might try to take the Mountains and Seas sweater, which I've designed, and make that into a turtleneck as well, because I do love a turtleneck sweater, and I love the way that sweater fits me, because I designed it for me. So it could be cool to try to make it into a turtleneck. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just go easy on myself and knit like the caramel sweater by Petite Knit, or there's a million raglan turtleneck sweaters out there. So I will find one of them, and with all of these held together, it'll be a DK weight. So millions of options for me, or I can go off and do my own thing. So we will decide. But yeah, that was very fun. And then I went upstairs in this yarn store. And okay, I have to talk a little bit about this yarn store because it was amazing. Like, I want the owner of this yarn store's life, because we pull up to this yarn store and we thought we were lost because it was just a residential street in Fort Collins. Like, it was a little neighborhood and we could just see a house, and we could tell we were in the right place because the house outside, there was like a bird bath, and the stem of the bird bath was wrapped in a scarf, in like a hand knitted scarf. And so we could kind of tell, like, okay, there's knitters around. And then there was a tiny sign saying my sister knits is in the back. And so we walked towards the sign and we went through this gate, and it was like going into someone's house's backyard. It was the backyard of a house. And in the back of this house was like a little kind of mother-in-law suite, carriage house, I think is what they were calling, but just kind of a little tiny studio house. It was 2 stories, but it was really small. In the back, it was a yarn store. And we had to walk through this backyard, which was really well kept. And there was a beautiful chicken coop with multiple, like, I think it was 6 or so chickens, and they were all so beautiful. And then the yarn store was just lovely. It just felt super homey, and it had a downstairs which had really nice yarn, and it was organized so that all the heavier weight yarns were downstairs, and there was a really nice big table for crafting together as well. And then you went upstairs, and the upstairs was kind of like an A-frame attic, so it had sloped ceilings and had beautiful yarns as well. There was an amazing wall of hand-dyed yarns that I've really wanted to see for a long time. So there was Woolberry Fiber Co yarn, there was Salty Blonde yarn, there was ZZ Textiles yarns, and there was Coast to Coast Yarn Co, which are all yarn dyers. Well, except for Salty Blonde, all of those are yarn dyers that I've followed for a really long time and liked, but never bought anything from and never seen in person. And so it was wonderful to see them in person for the first time and get to kind of enjoy the quality of their yarns. I didn't walk away with any of their yarn, but it was just nice to see it. And yeah, I had tons of the knitting for olive in addition to the chaos yarns. So if you're ever in Fort Collins, highly recommend my sister knits. Lamb Spun, which we also went to, was really cool. They have like an attached restaurant, which is cool. So you can go to a restaurant at the yarn store. But I was enthralled by my sister knits. It was just amazing. So highly recommend. But yeah, so I went upstairs at this yarn store, and they just had a bucket of minis. And so I find it really hard to resist hand-dyed minis. So I grabbed this little palette of yarns, and I really want to make the November edition of the Colorwork Cuff Club by Summer Lee. So I'll have a picture up of the November version, but they're just a beautiful kind of more traditional colorwork look. And so you need 6 colors to do it. You need a main color and then 5 contrast colors. And so I actually grabbed 2 of these as my main color. These should be enough. I checked the yardage, and these are both 80 meters each. And so they should be enough. I might have to shorten the leg a little bit, but this should be enough. I might do a contrast toe too, but it should be enough to knit the body of my socks. And then I have these that I bought there for some contrast colors. So I have 3 that I got there. I love, love, love this hot pink. So it's called Shut the Front Door, and I think that's fun. There's also this little one. They don't all have names, but this is Blush by 2 sisters. This one's unnamed, but it's a nice blue. And so I got those while I was there, and then I figured like, okay, I definitely have stuff in my stash and was thinking maybe I could use some of this as actually the contrast color and just make it a 4-color work. But when I got home, I found these 2 colors that I'm planning on using. These have been in my stash for a long time. This is just a random white, and then this fun periwinkle. Ignore the state of them. They've both been played with by a cat. So they're a little beat up. But yeah, I think this kind of periwinkle and this white will go in this palette nicely. So it'll be, that for the color work. And then I will have this as the main color. So I think that that's going to be really fun. I hope so. And so I am excited because I haven't felt inspired to knit socks for a while. I think I kind of burnt myself out on socks by trying to make a pair every month, which was kind of a fun challenge for the first few months of the year, but I'm now, I think, 3 months behind on it, and I'm definitely not going to catch up before the end of the year. And so I don't think I'll do the 12 and 12 socks again. But it's nice to find a sock pattern and a sock color palette that is inspiring to me, and I'm excited to cast on. And so maybe I'll squeeze out one more pair of socks this year, because honestly, it's not Christmas colors at all, but the design kind of looks Christmassy to me. And so I think this would be a really fun sock to wear for Christmas. So I'll see if I can get it done by then. I'm dropping stuff. But yeah, that is all of the yarn and products I have to physically show you. I have my inspirations to talk about, which I do every podcast, and then I have my last progress on my 2024 intentions session. So we'll start out with the inspirations. And so my first inspiration is, and I'm sorry, my laptop's right here, so I'm just pulling it up to talk about it, but this is a sweater that is coming up soon. It's going to be released soon by the designer. Their Instagram username, at least, is Trin Aniel, or Annalie, maybe. And it is just a beautiful sweater. So I don't think it has a name yet, but it's a really nice colorwork sweater. I love how I was just saying with this one, I don't think I'll ever make a full colorwork sweater again, and then I'm showing as this inspiration this beautiful colorwork sweater, but there's a lot more negative space in this one, so I think that it would be a little bit easier, and there's no 3-color colorwork rows, so it would be a little easier. And it is really beautiful. It's a drop shoulder, and I really love the color palette that they've knit this in. And yeah, it looks like it's in a fingering weight yarn, so it would be a lot. I'm not going to do this sweater immediately, but I did find it really enthralling when I saw it on Instagram, and I really like the colors. So that is my first inspiration. And yeah, it does not have a name, but it does have a release date of December 16th. So hopefully it's coming out soon because it is beautiful. So that is my first inspiration. And then my second one, I really debated on whether I should feature this because it's from a really popular designer, but I do really love this sweater, and I'm kind of debating actually making this sweater in these yarns. And so it is the sweater number 30 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, which is coming out, I think, tomorrow or really soon. It's coming out really soon. And I really love the way it looks. It's a saddle shoulder turtleneck, and so it's got really nice shaping. The way that the neckline's shaped is really nice too. And it just looks cozy. It's technically made to be Aran weight, but I think that I could make this work for it. And yeah, it looks beautiful. It looks comfortable and oversized. I love the really deep brown that My Favorite Things has designed it in. But yeah, it really captured me. I typically don't want to talk too much about like Petite Knit or My Favorite Things because, yeah, we all know that they make good sweaters. There's a reason they're so popular. But this one, just because it's not out yet, It does really, really intrigue me. So there we go. Those are my inspirations for the month. I know that there have been so many beautiful things that came out this month, or beautiful patterns, beautiful yarns, beautiful creations. I just was not, frankly, on Instagram that much this month. Or if I was kind of just stress scrolling from just everything that has been going on this month. So those are the two inspirations that really stuck with me. But I definitely saw a lot of beautiful things. You know, the Maxine sweater came out by Laura Penrose, which I also find really beautiful and would love to make one day. And yeah, there have been some other things as well, but this is what I've got. And then my progress on my intentions for this month. So I have 10 intentions that I set for myself in January, and going through them, my first intention was to explore some new fibers. And for this month, there was nothing new. Like last time we talked, I'd already started the sweater, which is in BFL, which is a fiber I've never worked with before. But I'd already started it. So yeah, I'm still working with BFL. I'm learning a little bit more about it, how to work with it. It's a lovely yarn. I've worked with Boucle before, but not for a while. So it's been fun getting back to Boucle and learning a little bit more about how to best work with it. And this tweed will be fun to work with once I do, because that'll be a new experience. And when I spin this up, it'll be a brand new experience with all of the fibers in this blend. And then both spinning and knitting will be kind of a brand new experience to see what it's like. But I have not done that yet. So I have plans to explore new fibers, but really didn't do very much of that this month, which is fine. But overall for the year, I'm just adding like a slight reflection on the year, because this is the last podcast. I think I did explore a lot of new fibers this month, or sorry, this year. I feel like I've just really grown outside of just using superwash merinos or just using certain wools. You know, I started out the year making this sweater, which is knit out of a Highland wool, and that was a brand new experience for me. It felt really itchy when I was knitting it, and I was really worried, but I actually love the way it feels. By the way, I knit this sweater at the beginning of this year, and I knit this, it's called the Boucle sweater. It was a test knit, and I knit it. I know the designer, her name's Rachel, and her account or designing name is Stitching Simply. And yeah, it's a wonderful piece that I've gotten a lot of wear out of, both because of the sweater and also because of the fiber. And so I'm really glad that I kind of got out of my comfort zone and tried a Highland wool and wasn't deterred by immediately, you know, the feeling of it unblocked. And so I'm really happy with how it feels now. And I think I've tried a fair amount of fibers this year. You know, I've worked with Fashionista, which had a lot of different things in it. What's kind of a wool blend. I've just expanded my repertoire of wools. I haven't worked that much outside of wools this year other than alpaca, because I love alpaca, but I did really expand the amount of the types of wool that I tried. And so I'm happy with that overall. My next intention was to bring my stash down. And so the past few months have not been good for my stash. I've been a lot of sales. I've been excited about designing, and, you know, things happen. But the rest of the year, I was pretty good about not buying yarn. And overall, I think that it's just kind of, this happened last year too, where I think it's just kind of my pattern to not buy that much yarn for the first half of the year. Like, in January, I have all the yarn that I bought on Black Friday deals or Christmas or whatever sales that happen around the end of the year. And so January through February, March, I'm all set on working from stash yarn. And then the rest of the year, it's getting warm. I'm not really as interested in making sweaters. I have sock yarn and stash, all that kind of stuff. And so by the time August rolls around, my stash feels a little bit empty. And so September through December, I go a little bit crazy. And, you know, if that is my pattern, I can adapt my budget to it. And I do want to be really intentional about working through a lot of the yarns I've bought. I'm really excited about so many of the yarns that I've brought into my stash in the last few months. And so I do really want to work through them. And so I will do so. I have plans for pretty much everything in my stash that I've brought in. And so I don't think that I've brought my stash down this year. It's probably net positive, especially this month is a net positive. But I'm excited about the things that I'm bringing in, and I don't feel like I'm mindlessly bringing yarn in. So there's that. My next intention was to knit from patterns I already own. And honestly, this year I've been really good overall. This month I bought the Nora neck pattern, and then the holidays sweater pattern was provided to me to make this. But overall, I've really slowed down how many patterns I'm buying. I made this intention because at the end of 2023, every time there was a pattern sale from a designer, I'd buy a pattern, and then my library was just full of all of these patterns for sweaters that I did really like, but I didn't have definite plans to make. And so I kind of put my foot down and said, like, I have to knit these patterns that I've bought. I have so many beautiful patterns already in my library, and I have to just be more mindful about buying patterns going forward because, like, it's nice to save a little bit of money on a pattern, but also, if it's a 20% off sale of a pattern that's normally $8, like, the $1.60 off is not gonna make or break buying that pattern later. So I'd rather know that I'm actually going to use the pattern and spend $8 rather than, just get excited about the sale and spend $6.20 or $6.40 or whatever it is on sale. So I've gotten a lot more mindful about when I'm buying patterns and not just kind of mindlessly buying them because they're on sale and because I like the look of it, and actually just saving it and saying, like, I'm happy to pay full price for this later. Like, if I'm still really interested in this pattern, I'm happy to pay a full price. So I'm getting a lot better at not impulse buying when patterns are on sale. Wish I could say the same about yarn, but it is what it is. My next intention was to deepen my knowledge of yarn, and so for that I really wanted to try to dye yarn and to spin yarn, and I did both this year. This past month I haven't done either. I actually keep meaning I have a bunch of undyed yarn, and I have so many avocado skins and pits in my freezer, and so I really need to dye that yarn with avocado skins and pits, and so I'm still wanting to do that. But I have dyed yarn this year, I have spun yarn this year, and I don't know, maybe in December I have a nice break from work and maybe I will dye some yarn with avocados so I can finally get all the avocados out of my freezer, which have been there for months at this point. So probably a good goal. My next goal intention was to expand my knowledge of knitting, try new stitches, try new construction techniques, design, and I feel really good about that overall. This month, I, haven't really tried much new. I feel a lot more confident in color work, stranded color work, but it's not, I didn't design anything this month. I didn't really do anything brand new to me, but I still had a productive month and feel more confident here in color work. And then overall, I feel a lot more confident in knitting after this year. I designed my first pattern. I have other design plans as well. I am running a test knit right now. And yeah, I just do feel really confident with my knitting. I've done a ton of sample knits, which are great for external validation of someone saying, hey, your work is amazing, because, you're sending it back to them. And so I feel a lot more confident overall with my knitting and my skills, which is awesome. Make more socks. I kind of talked about this already. I set a goal of making a pair of socks every month, and I did not make one for November. I did not make a pair of socks. I think I made a pair of socks in October, but I didn't make a pair of socks in September, and I didn't make a pair of socks in July or June. So I'm at this point 3 months behind, and I don't think I'm going to set this intention for myself again. I think that it's a good idea to see where in my wardrobe I can make more things and mindfully say, hey, I want to make more of this, but setting kind of a target for myself, I think, was a little bit too much and led to some stress when I was trying to get sample knits done, and then also feeling like, well, I have to make my November socks, and being like, no, I don't. Like, that's an internal deadline. And I am getting a lot of wear out of the socks I have. The little drawer that I keep socks in is actually already pretty full, and so I don't need to make a pair of socks every month just because I arbitrarily said I would last December. And so I'm trying to be more mindful about that and think about what goals I can kind of set going forward, or intentions I can set going forward, so I don't feel kind of stuck into making something every single month or making a total number of things. But it has been fun to make more socks overall, and I hopefully will get one more pair of socks done this year. So there we go. One of my next intention is to wear my knits more often, and I've been okay at that this month. It's getting colder, and so I have worn quite a few of them when I'm working from home. I was traveling and didn't bring any because I was going to Southern California and either at a funeral or cleaning out a house, and so not a knits appropriate occasion, but I have been wearing my knits, not maybe as frequently as I really want to, but still more often than in the past, which is good. And then knitting less. I have been knitting a lot. So I set this intention for myself at the beginning of the year because I felt like I was just knitting tons and tons and not really investing in other hobbies. And I was pretty good for a while about kind of balancing my knitting with other hobbies. I was walking more and spinning and just doing other hobbies and crafts and seeing friends and doing stuff. And then I had a crazy summer with a lot of travel. Knitting was kind of the only hobby I could do for a while. I stopped walking as much because I was traveling, and then it was also too hot. And yeah, I do want to keep this goal for myself to knit less, or intention just as kind of a mindful thing of like, don't overdo it, is more what I mean, I guess, rather than just knitting less. It's like being mindful and keeping balanced with knitting versus other things. And so I do want to continue to be mindful about that. This month, I knit quite a lot just from stress, trying to get the sample knit done, and all of that. And so continued goal going forward for myself. Fewer deadlines. I haven't taken on any more sample knits. So I gotta finish this guy, and then I'm taking a break from sample knits for a little while. And I probably won't do any test knits or anything like that either, so I shouldn't have any deadlines for a while. I do have 3 gift knits that I want to do, but they're all really small, and if they're not done by Christmas, they're not done by Christmas. I don't think any of the people I'm planning to gift would hold it against me if they weren't done by Christmas Day. And so once this is off my needles, I will feel so free. And so we'll have way less deadlines going into the beginning of the new year. And then my final goal or intention of the year was to have more community and less content. And I feel like I've done really well on that. I feel like this year I made some actually really good connections. Ash from Smash Knits and I have become really good friends. We text frequently as well. I've talked frequently with Hannah from Pages and Pearls and really enjoy her. And I'm running this knit along now with this group chat element, which has been really fun. And my own test knit for the Mountains and Sea sweater with a group chat has been really fun. And I've gotten to just meet a lot of online knitters, which has been really fulfilling. And so I think this year I have really built more community around knitting for myself. And this month, I think that's true too, of starting the knit along and really diving into that has felt really fulfilling. And so, yeah, those are my intentions. I normally have like a recommendation of something I've been watching or reading, but I don't have any of those this month. I have been on a treadmill of life, and so just trying to slow down now and enjoy things a little bit slower for the rest of the year. But I think that's it for me today. So thanks so much for watching. I know that there wasn't that much to show, but there was a lot to talk about. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you again next week. All right, bye.